Okay, folks, we'll call our meeting to order. And I will begin with the land acknowledgement. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki and the district of Sipekne'katik, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. We will now have a moment of silent contemplation. I would now be looking for the approval of or amendments to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councillor Perry, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. I'm now looking for the approval of the minutes of March 19th Council, Policy and in camera, and February 28th, 2024 regular meeting of Council.
Seconded.
Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by the Deputy Warden. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. We will now move to correspondence for information. Correspondence for information is on the screen, and it has been in front of councillors throughout the month as it came in. I would ask if there are any items under correspondence for information that any councillor wishes to have any discussion on or bring forward. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Item number 18, the childcare crisis. Any update from the MP or MLA moving forward?
We did have a letter from the MLA.
We did. It wasn't addressed to us, but it was.
Yeah.
I think that letter went out to all council.
Yeah,
Nothing?
we were copied on a letter from
Yeah.
the MLA.
Number 22.
Number 22, but
I
Any-
believe that's the only correspondence we've had in response.
okay. Thank you.
Any other items? Seeing none, we'll move to correspondence for decision. And Adam, we'll throw it to you.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Tonight in your package under correspondence for decision, you have a letter from the East Hants Fire Service Association, which is made up of the fire services in East Hants, and the chiefs held their quarterly meeting on March the 2nd. And a topic of discussion amongst the chiefs as their annual insurance renewal is coming up. It's just around their insurance premiums. And they had a brief conversation around really looking at if there's a way the municipality could explore with them the opportunity to, they've listed it in their letter here around self-insurance, and really they're not looking at a full self-insurance program. They really want to look at kind of their deductible and what would make sense if there was it to be able to be increased and cover that through a self-insurance program amongst themselves to help reduce their premiums. They do have quite high premiums for when you look at the bottom line for the fire service. So really what this letter is doing tonight is really asking Ms. Pally just to have a preliminary discussion about it, and what we would recommend to council is to have staff come back with really a preliminary report. It is a complex topic, and so a preliminary report would just provide some options for council should they choose to act on this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rhino.
Yes, through you to staff. How would we draw information on this self-insurance? How would staff draw this information? Would they use insurance providers out there, experts in the field? How would they draw that?
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden. So the fire service has a risk manager that has experience in this area, but there would be some potentially some outside expertise that would need to be done from an analysis perspective. But what we're suggesting tonight is that preliminary report will come back and really lay out options for council to consider if you want to even move forward with exploring it. So it would lay out those resources required and any funding tied to do the analysis piece.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Warden.
I would move the staff bring back a report on the options that are available for self-insurance for the fire service.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. And I believe that was the only item under correspondence for decision. So the next item on the agenda is the appointment of Mike Baird as a building official, and that would be John.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, it's a pretty straightforward appointment. Mike has been with us for several months now and has achieved the qualifications to be able to get his residential certification, so we're looking for an appointment.
Someone prepared to move that? Deputy Warden?
I'll move the council appoint Mike Baird as building official for the municipality of East Hants for Section 5.2 of the Building Code Act.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Well, we're moving right along tonight, folks. It's not yet time for the public hearing, so we will go into second reading, bylaw P-700-1, an amendment to bylaw P-700, the Heritage Property Bylaw. Who is taking that one? Councillor Mitchell.
Madam Warden, second reading bylaw P-700-1, an amendment to bylaw P-700 Heritage Property Bylaw. At the February 2024 executive meeting, staff provided a presentation with suggested updates to bylaw P-700 Heritage Property Bylaw. Council gave first reading at the February 2024 council meeting and can now proceed with second reading. I move that council give second reading to the proposed bylaw P-700-1, an amendment to bylaw P-700 Heritage Property Bylaw. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Head. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called. And the motion is passed by a vote of 10-1, with Councillor Rhino voting nay. Next, we have second reading of bylaw P-400-9, an amendment to bylaw P-400, the tax exemption bylaw. And I believe that one will be Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. At the February 2024 Executive Committee meeting, staff presented a report outlining the results of the annual review of the tax exemption bylaw. Two minor administrative changes were recommended, including the addition of all PIDs related to the Lions Memorial Park and the deletion of the Shubenacadie Hall and Ground Society, as is under new ownership and will receive a provincial exemption. Another property was added to the F400 bylaw exemption list for first reading at the February 2024 council meeting. This property is approximately 7 acres in size and was recently donated to the Uniacke District Fire Department. Council can now proceed with second reading. Move that council give second reading to bylaw F400-9, an amendment to bylaw F400 tax exemption bylaw, and be amended to reflect the following changes. Add properties number 10976723 and 10976731 Lions Memorial Park Society. Remove 00889261 Shubenacadie Hall and Ground Society, and add 109-87512 Uniacke District Fire Department. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? The question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. We still have 19 minutes before the hour of the public hearing. So we will move into committee reports, and we will start with the Corporate and Residential Services Committee report. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its budget meeting on March 5th, 2024, and regular meeting on March 19th, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of those meetings. Budget continuation, growth management grant, and budget management policy update. The Corporate Residential Services Committee recommend the council draft a budget to be tabled with an increase to the D-transfer tax budget to $3 million, and that the budget management policy be amended to include direction to staff on the D-transfer tax draft budget each year per the recommendation in staff report section 10 attached to the March 19th agenda, and that the budget management policy be updated to document the growth management grants to the corridor, urban service rate, Sportsplex, Enfield, Grand Lake streetlights, and 9 Mile River streetlights, the Uniacke districts and the rural fire department rates to be reduced by 1 cent, and the remaining rural funding be split between the recipients of the fire operating grants, section 10 attached to the March 19th agenda. And that council approves the revisions to the budget management policy as per the notice at the March 19th, 2024 council meeting. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Musa. Is there any discussion? Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, we had a lot of discussion on this. I can't support it. Basically because if that deed transfer tax, that predicted increased revenue in that deed transfer tax was put toward the general rate, then everybody would have an equal shot and be treated very equal. With this now takes away that equity. Because although there's fire departments that I represent in my area that will benefit out of this, there are some that don't. Some of the residents of District 5 who are covered by Shubenacadie Fire Department will not benefit from this one little bit. And if I feel that if we're going to try to treat everyone fairly, it would be off the general rate. I understand the plight of some areas of the municipality that don't feel that they have been treated and are struggling and they have needs because of growth in the area. I understand that. But it's just, to me, if I cannot treat all my residents with equity, I can't support it. Because although it will lower the rate of a fire department, what the person pays toward a fire department, it would have more benefit if it was put on the general rate. So that's it in a nutshell. I can't support it. It should have stayed, to me, on the general rate and not gone the way it did. Thank you.
Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, much the same as what Councillor Rhino just said. I think that it would have been better for the entire municipality if we'd have reduced the general tax rate by 4 cents. I see some areas are getting a bit of a break. District 4 isn't getting any break. I just don't think this is good budgeting for the municipality as a whole. And I agree that needs to be something needed to be done to correct the inequity that Mount Uniacke has been witnessing, but I think there probably was a better way to go about it than this, so I won't be able to support this motion. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Question.
The question's been called. And the motion is passed by a vote of 9-2, with Councillor McPhee and Councillor Rhino voting nay. Back to you, Councillor Perry.
Operating Budget 2024-2025. The Corporate Residential Services Committee moved to recommend to council to approve the draft 2024-2025 operating budget amended as follows. Tables are on the screen. And that the following tax rates as published be set for the fiscal year 2024-2025. And that the mandatory provincial funding rate will summarize the cost of education, regional library to be charged on all taxable assessments, commercial, residential, and resource, and that the RSP services to be charged to all taxable assessment, commercial, residential, and resource, and that for provincial reporting purposes, general residential resource tax rate will be 0.0800, and the commercial rate will be 2.57.
Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Thank you again. Again, I cannot support this budget. I think in this times of hardship and people struggling to make ends meet, I personally don't think that we're showing leadership. When we ask people, you know, where people are trying to make a living day to day, living within their means, and now we put 6 new people in positions in the municipality at a cost that could have dropped the rate by approximately 2 cents, general rate by 2 cents. People are doing without. I don't feel that we are showing enough restraint to match that. You know, we're gonna set this and it'll be a drop of a little bit on the general rate, a little bit from the fire rate. But really, to me, I see it as smoke and mirrors, because if we go out and we say, we've dropped the rate and we've done this, it doesn't match the increase in assessment that took place. So it doesn't match it. So at the end of the day, when all the smoke clears away from these mirrors, we're gonna be paying more money. Our residents will be paying more tax dollars. And we have people out there struggling. And I've said this before and before and before, and we'll keep on saying it. People are living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, on April 1st, we're gonna have an increase in this carbon tax, which is totally baffles me altogether. But anyway, it's coming whether we like it or not. So with that increase in gasoline and diesel prices and home heating, every bit of consumer products that we in Atlantic Canada get either comes by air, train, sea, or land. And there's a cost to that. So every time those costs go up. So then here we are, cost of living just increased. We just made it that much harder. I do not feel with this budget that we have shown enough restraint, and I feel we could have done a lot better and done it, especially with that last budget that passed, the way it was split up. We could have probably had, put this all together, could have probably been a 5 to 6 cent decrease on the general rate. So that's my feelings, and I cannot support this budget.
I would simply comment there was never a projection where it would have been a 5 to 6 cent decrease on the rate. Councillor Tingley.
I would like to decrease the rates as well, but the fact of the matter is the price of everything has gone up, and the municipality is going to be facing the same kind of increases that everybody else is. It's pretty hard to decrease your income when expenses are going up, and our expenses are going up a lot, and this is happening all around Nova Scotia. A lot of municipalities are increasing their rates by a lot more than this. Across Canada, I just got back from a vacation down in New Zealand. They're increasing their rates anywhere from 15 to 30%. And talking with people down there that are from around the world, this is going on all around the world. I think I wasn't here for all the deliberations for the budget, but my impression was, I did listen to some of it on live stream, and I think you, council did pound away a good budget here, and therefore I'm going to support it.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question has been called. Oh, Mike, did you want to speak, or were you just
No,
still
no.
on as chair?
I'm still in the chair.
And the motion is passed by a vote of 9-2, with Councillor McPhee and Councillor Rhino voting nay.
Next item, the Corporate Residential Service Committee recommends to council that council reduce the FCM 2024 conference complement back to the CAO, warden, and 3 councillors, and to fund the entire FCM conference budget from reserve. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. I'm going to ask the deputy warden to take the chair.
Go ahead, Warden.
I was ill on committee day and was not able to be here. The only thing that concerns me about this, I don't object to the delegation being CA warden and 3 councillors, but I do believe that that decision should have been made at the meeting where the delegates were appointed, not a month afterwards, because many delegates, they were appointed at that council meeting to go to that conference, and we have people who will have already paid their airfare and those things to go, because councilors have the option of booking their own airfare and being reimbursed by council for those trips. So I am simply going to say, mine, I just had the municipality book it. I've done it both ways. But were I a councilor who had been appointed to attend the conference and who had gone ahead and paid for my own airfare and made arrangements to go, I would still be expecting somebody to reimburse me for that airfare, because I, under what was passed by council, I went and made those arrangements. So that's my only concern about this. It's certainly, whatever happens, happens. It will not affect the tax rate because the entire thing is covered by reserves anyway. So anyway, those are just my comments. I just think that it would have had to have been done a month ago when the delegates were appointed. It should have been trimmed up at that time, not after councilors were approved to go and appointed to be delegates and would have gone out and expended funds to attend the conference. And like I said, I'm sorry, I'm as fiscally responsible as the next person, but if I had spent the money and bought an airline ticket to go to a conference that I had been appointed as a delegate to attend, and then was told a month later that we've changed our minds and you're no longer a delegate, then I'm looking for somebody to reimburse me for that airfare. That's just the way it is. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Warden. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Following up on the warden's explanation and comments, yes. Last month, the delegates were appointed. I booked my airfare, which was my option, so now I'm looking to see what I do for reimbursement of airfare that's been booked based on the approval of council last month. So if somebody can explain that to me, I'll be willing to listen. Thank you.
Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, I agree with the warden's comments and Councillor Mitchell's comments. I'd also like to say that I don't think going to FCM is a perk or NSFM. These are professional associations, and as a councillor in my first term, I've got a lot out of going to these conventions, and these organizations facilitate advocacy for us. There's a lot of education, collaboration that goes on at these conferences. I've learned a lot at the conferences. Now, in my particular situation, I'm not going to incur, I don't think I'll incur any expense because my flights are not booked. But when we learned about this, My wife made arrangements to go to Edmonton and Victoria and see relatives. So this all has to be canceled. And for that reason, I think, or it's not going to impact me in the long run, other than she's got to go back to relatives and whatever arrangements they've made with their holidays and that sort of stuff. It's got to all be canceled. And I agree, like, doing this a month later is just, it doesn't look very good. And, you know, for the expense that's involved, it's meaningless to me. That's about all I got to say.
Counselor? Counselor Head?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'm the one that brought this forward. It's my understanding that we're doing the budget process. This was part of the budget process. And yes, the motion was made and it was voted on, but it doesn't come directly right till now when it becomes, the budget's going to be voted on. As we sit around here, we always look for ways to lower the cost to the taxpayer. And for every counselor, every member goes, that's over $3,000 per person. And to send that many people there, and the budget restraints, and we're trying to help everybody, it's always been the CAO and the warden and 3 other counselors. And for those reasons is what I decided this is the best way to do it. And for the ones who was gonna go, was be the counselors that never been to an FCM before. Now, for the ones that have paid them there, it's council can look at it and say, okay, maybe we'll let them go because they've already endured costs there. But that was my reason for bringing this forward. So thank you.
Counselor? Warden Rolston?
I'd just like to weigh in. The appointments of delegates to FCM was not part of the budget discussion. It was done at council last month, and it was done at that time because we had to have numbers and we had to make reservations for hotels and such things for counselors that were going. But it wasn't part of the budget deliberations. It was a separate council item. Thank you.
Counselor Rhino?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Well, on the first motion, I never voted against it. I voted against it for the reason is that I think the motion was to send everybody and the remainder was to come out of reserves. You know, whether that comes off a general rate or comes out of reserves, it's still money that the taxpayers have paid. So if I voted against it because that money still would have been in reserve and could have been probably moved around and spent on something far better. I'm not saying FCM, I'm not speaking against FCM. I've been there, I've enjoyed it, I did get a lot of it. But we have to live within our means. We have to only send a certain amount of counselors. I do feel sorry for Councillor Mitchell that he went out and he bought that, so bought his ticket. But to me, that's why I voted against the original motion, because money's money. It don't matter where it's come from. It's still taxpayers' money, whether it's in reserves or comes out of the general budget. Thank you.
Counselor Musa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When this came last week or whatever at budget, I said I will withdraw my name, and I didn't book the ticket, but I think staff have booked it, so I don't know how that's gonna work.
Fellow counselor?
I just wanna know, like, if they can get reimbursed for it, or there's penalty or something, I don't know.
Each? Is it 230 each? Through Mr. Deputy Warden, for each of the 2 flights that need to be canceled, it's $230 to cancel those flights that have been booked for counselors.
Each way?
No, just each ticket. And the rooms can be canceled 72 hours in advance. So we have rooms booked, but those could be canceled. But the flights, we do have a cancellation fee on.
Yeah, I still like to take my name out. I think $200 better than spending $3,000. It's okay.
Earlston.
We've reached the hour of 7:30, so I would suggest someone move to table this until after the public hearing, when we'll resume discussion at that time.
Moved by Counselor Rhino to table,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Perry. Non-debatable motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is tabled till after the public hearing, and I'll turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I seem to have two public hearings here, but I guess they're the same, so I'm okay. Counselors, this evening, we have one item on the public hearing agenda. The purpose of this hearing is for council to hear input from the public prior to making a decision on the proposal. To the members of the public who have chosen to participate this evening, welcome. Please note that council's procedural policy requires that you not cheer, boo, clap, or otherwise disrupt this hearing. Anyone who wants to comment or ask questions will be provided with an opportunity to do so. Tonight, council may approve, reject, or defer its decision on the proposal to a later date. Council approval is required for the proposal to proceed. I will now ask the municipal clerk to outline when the public hearing advertisements were published.
Madam Warden, a public hearing notice appeared in the March 13th and 20th editions of the Chronicle Herald. The notices described the proposal, gave the date and time of the public hearing, and indicated the staff reports were available for the public.
Councilors, the public hearing this evening is regarding housekeeping amendments to the land use bylaw. I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his report. Councilor Mitchell.
Planning Advisory Committee has considered the proposal on behalf of Municipal Council. The committee has reviewed staff's report, completed their evaluation, and will make a recommendation to council during this hearing. Madam Warden, through you, I would now ask staff to present their final report on the proposal.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So since the adoption of the 2023 planning documents, staff have identified a missing provision from the new Rural Use North RU-2 zone that prevents a portion of sections 9.5 and 9.6 of the subdivision bylaw from being used in the Rural Use North RU-2 zone. Staff are proposing a housekeeping amendment that would fix that current issue. And basically, the proposed amendment would allow for all of the area land provisions in section 9 of the subdivision bylaw to be used in that new zone. In addition, staff have identified 7 other housekeeping items that can be addressed at this time. The majority of the proposed amendments are extremely minor in nature and do not impact the intention of the regulation. For example, removing the reference to the FF and the FE zones. So we removed them from our documents when they were approved, but we just missed 2 references to them in the chart, so those just have to be deleted. They don't have any impact on the document at all. It's just words that were left in the document. And another example is a development permit may be issued to permit an accessory dwelling unit instead of in a single unit dwelling, accessory to a single unit dwelling, because if you're considering it can only be allowed in the base in the dwelling itself. Or accessory to, you could have it as that garden suite in the back or above the garage. So just clarifying the words. Other reasons, so we have some spelling issues, as I mentioned, consistency, reference to some provisions that have been removed and wrong word usage. All the proposed amendments have been attached to staff's report, and staff have followed the citizen engagement policies outlined in the official community plan. A notice advising advertising the date of the public hearing was mentioned by the CAO. And in conclusion, the proposed amendments do not change the intent of the existing policies and regulations. The amendment fix errors and omissions in the document, and staff are recommending second reading and approval of the land use bylaw housekeeping amendments. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you. Does any member of council have questions for staff? Seeing none, I will now open the floor for comments and questions. If you are viewing the YouTube live stream, you may use the YouTube chat feature, which is being monitored. First, does anyone attending in person have any questions or comments? Does any member of the public have any questions or comments through the live chat on the YouTube live stream? Does any member of staff have any final comments? No. I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his committee's recommendation.
Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council give second reading and approve the proposed land use bylaw housekeeping amendments. As chair of PAC, I so move.
Do we have seconded by the deputy warden? Are there any final questions or comments from the municipal councilors? Seeing none, are you ready for the question? The question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. That concludes tonight's public hearing, and I would thank everyone for attending. So we'll return to the agenda, and I would ask if someone would like to lift the motion from the table that was under discussion. Deputy Warden.
I move the motion be lifted from the table.
We have a seconder. Second. Moved and seconded. I'm not sure if this is a recorded vote or an aye vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. The motion has been lifted from the table, and we can resume discussion. Now, just as a point of order, I had been involved in the discussion on this motion earlier, so Deputy Warden, I'll give the chair back to you.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the motion? Councillor Tingley.
I just would like to say a couple more things. First, like I realized I said that this was meaningless. I shouldn't have said the word meaningless. I just felt that the amount that we're talking about is inconsequential. From what I understand, we're talking about $9,000, which is 0.0002% of our budget. And when you look at that cost compared to the value you get for going to these conventions, it's to me, it's like cutting your nose off to save your face, or not tuning up your vehicle. There's a lot to be gained by going to these conventions, and the ones that were here locally, or every one I've got a chance to go to in the future, if there's only, if it's restricted to 3, whatever it is, and whatever it is here, obviously I accept it. But this is not just a perk going to FCM. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, I guess just to say, as I said in my preamble, I wouldn't have objected to simply the warden, CAO, and 3 councillors had that been done at the time the decision was made. But I just really do feel that it puts some councillors in a bad position because they didn't do anything wrong. After that council meeting, they were appointed as delegates to FCM. It has always been the policy that a councillor can book their own airfare and be reimbursed so that they can pick the flights that work for them most easily. We have at least one councillor who has done this. The one councillor who has offered to withdraw his name, who has been booked through the municipality, has not been to FCM this term. So I don't think that he should be one that would be withdrawing his name if someone was. It's certainly a cost to attend these conferences. I have attended, depending on the time I had available over the years, I have attended a number, and I've attended them all since I've been warden, and some of those were online. And let me tell you, to get hundreds of people online for a national conference, it's not particularly as enjoyable as seeing folks face to face and having the good discussions, but I did it because it's part of my job. And I consider attending the sessions at these conferences, and I do attend the sessions at these conferences. It's part of my job. And I guess my only problem, as I said here before, at a regular, duly constituted meeting of this council, we appointed these delegates. These councilors did nothing wrong. If there were problems with the amount of people being sent, it should have been dealt with at that time. And we did not have any, like the money was put in the budget every year. We did not have any counselors go, of course, through COVID because you couldn't travel during COVID. But even post-COVID, on more than one occasion, we didn't have a full complement of counselors who were able to get away for the time of the conference at those times. This year, it just happened that there were 2 extra counselors over and above the 3 who were able to make it work in their schedules. If we were going to stick to 3, I believe we should have whittled it down at that time. And I continue to feel that any counselor who has incurred expense to go on a conference that they were appointed to as a delegate has the right to expect to have that expense reimbursed. And that's just really how I feel. At this point, there's cost to canceling everyone. Because if the municipality booked the airfare, there's the cancellation fees that have to be paid. So certainly it would save a bit of money. But by taking all of these, we can take the entire cost of FCM out of reserves that were put aside for counselors to attend FCM, and it doesn't affect the tax rate. That tax rate was already affected 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, and that money is held in reserve. And it's held in a specific reserve for counselors to attend conferences and educational things. So I guess to Councillor Mitchell's question, that's something we're going to have to figure out. But I truly believe, were I in his situation, I would not be expecting to be out of pocket for booking my flights to a conference that I had been appointed a delegate to. And it's not a matter of feeling sorry for him, it's a matter of right and wrong. The counselor booked his ticket to go to the conference. So I just feel that the 2 extra counselors going, I do believe that every counselor who attends an FCM gains benefit from it, and Councillor Rhino himself certainly said that when he's attended in the past, he certainly has seen the benefit of it. And the FCM is our national organization. The FCM has been very instrumental in obtaining things for municipalities like the gas tax. It's now called the Canada Builds Fund. That's significant federal dollars which flows to municipalities. And that organization only has the influence with the federal government. It's only as strong as its membership. And the membership is only as strong as the delegates that support the organization. So yes, I can see, some people may think it's just a junket. I can tell you it's not. You're up early every morning for breakfast before 7 o'clock, get your breakfast, get to the conference room floor on time, and then you pick your sessions, you pick your study tours, you pick the events that you feel would benefit you most to attend. There's not a lot of free time. So I guess those are my comments. And like I said, if the number continues to be the warden, the CAO, and 3 counselors, I don't have an issue with that. But it has to be done at the time you appoint the delegates, not a month after people have been appointed and arrangements have already been made. And those are simply my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. If I had known last month that I wasn't approved as a delegate, I would have booked my airfare on my own. I do enjoy going because I push East Hants to every business and every contact I can make, that if they're coming east and need to, looking for a place, then I always recommend come to East Hants, and I'll be their tour guide. I have been approved for a tour in Calgary for the library tour, and as the chair of the library board, it was something I was looking forward to pass on to our library system here and how we can improve. But if it's council wish that we only send the 5, then that's your choice. And you can decide how I get compensated or reimbursed in the aftermath if that's going to happen. I enjoy it, and like I said before, I push East Hants to every delegate and to every business that's there at the trade fair. Whether they end up coming this way now or in the future, at least they have an idea where East Hants is in the lovely province of Nova Scotia. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. So we're talking to councillors, and I'm listening to Councillor Tingley. I think he said 9. Wouldn't it be $6,600, which on the tax rate, of course, wouldn't amount to anything. And as you say, it's out of reserves. So, and I know last year I couldn't go, so that left a spot open from last year. So it's kind of like we're spending last year's money when it was in reserve. So, and obviously, I feel for Councillor Mitchell. He shouldn't have to pay out of pocket for a change in plans. He was looking forward to going. I think he probably does a great job at promoting East Hants and Nova Scotia in general. So maybe it's something council next year makes sure that they only send the 3 councillors, CAO and Warden. But since we already passed it, maybe we better just stick with the 5 councillors that we had originally voted to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Well, I think the problem that exists around about us being allowed to book our flights outside of the municipal realm. To me, I think, maybe we should change that and put this back to, okay, if you're going, municipalities booking the flights. And if you want to book anything outside of that, then it's on your dime. That's, to me, what we should be looking at for future years. That's my opinion on this. I feel for Councillor Mitchell, but I guess you roll the dice and you booked, and this is what happened. So I really don't know what to say on that. It seems a little bit unfair, but then again, as I voted in the original motion way back, we should only be sending the 5 and the 3 in the first place and not sending everybody and putting this on, paying up through reserve. So anyway, that's what's my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I said, I voluntarily and took my name out, and I'll be happy to pay the penalty for the flight if I have to. I don't care. So I have faith in the councillors that are going, and I know they're not going there for a trip. They're going there to represent us, and they're bringing something valuable to us. So it's me or them, or it doesn't matter. So as long as somebody be there to represent us and try to get something out of that big conference. Thank you.
Holston.
Well, I'm just going to say it was not a dice roll. It was a passed motion of council, and those councillors were appointed as delegates at that council meeting. There was no dice roll. And in all the years that I've been here, there has always been the option of either having the municipality book the flight, or councillors could book their own flight so as to fit their schedule best. There is a caveat there that the flight can't cost any more than what the council flights are that the municipality pays for. And if the flights are more than that, then the councillors are responsible for that extra amount themselves. That's how it's always been. Many councillors choose to book their own flights because they have a spouse who's going to travel with them. And it's easier to book them both at the same time because it gets awkward to have the municipality book the spouse flights and then have to reimburse the municipality. So those are the reasons. Council can certainly change that if they want to, but it's not anything new. It's something that has always been an option. And as I said, at times I have booked my own flight. At other times, as of this year, I've just said, go ahead and book my flight at the, the best price and the best time to get me there for the conference and get me back home again. So we do have a decision to make. Should we decide to allow the delegates who have been appointed to stand, then I would certainly suggest that a separate motion be made to take all of the money out of reserves. And that still leaves a healthy reserve. And I could move an amendment, but before I do that, I do feel badly that Councillor Musa is withdrawing his name, because this is the first time in this term that Councillor Musa has found himself able to take the time off from his place of business to attend FCM. He's a good delegate at FCM. He's a business person from East Hants. He looks at things through a different lens than perhaps some of us do. And I would be disappointed to see Councillor Musa withdraw his name. However, if he is firm on doing that, I certainly would not expect him to pay any penalty for the municipality having booked his flight. As I said, that's the hump I can't get over, and it's not a roll of a dice. If I am told that this councillor has appointed me to do something, and I'm expected to do it, and I go out and spend money to do what council has directed me to do, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm doing what council directed me to do. And I don't see this as any different. And it's not a matter of feeling sorry for anyone or saying, oh, well, you rolled the dice, too bad. That's not how it works. And I believe that should we do this, and go back to 3, I will live with the will of council, no problem. But I think we have a moral obligation. We're going to pay, it's going to cost the municipality to cancel the flights that the municipality has booked, and I feel we have an obligation to cover any costs that councillors who have booked their own flight have incurred, because they didn't do anything wrong. They were appointed to go to the conference, and they booked the flight to get there before the flights were all booked and the best flights were gone. So those are my comments. I will not be supporting this particular motion. Thank you.
Councillor Mitchell.
Just to follow up, the advantage of going to the conference is to pick up information that I can pass off to staff, and you ask staff that the conferences I come back from, if I have something that I think is important that can benefit staff and the workings of the municipality, I hand off those brochures and information to them to look over and to deem if it's something they can use or to discard at their discretion. Thank you.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Haven't listened to everybody in their comments, and I was just wondering if it would be appropriate for Councillor Musa to make his decision after this motion to see if it passes or if it fails. And it might make his decision much easier if he was to wait for that. Is that something that's appropriate?
And we moved as a municipal unit to cancel these flights.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I concur with Councillor Hebb. I think that whether this passes or fails, that Councillor Musa, being on the original list, should have the option to go or not. That should be his prerogative, but that it shouldn't be hinged on the motion passing or failing, him not be included. Thank you.
This is still regarding this discussion? CAO, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Warden, if it is the intention to send the original delegates, then we would need a motion to fund the 2 delegates that weren't in the budget from reserves, from the FCM reserves.
Counselor McPhee.
Yes, I'll move that we fund the additional 2 counselors from reserves.
Moved by Counselor McPhee, seconded by Counselor Hibb. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. It is passed 10-1. Counselor Rhino voting nay. I'll turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Counselor Perry.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Question's been called.
So I vote.
Yes. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Okay. That brings us to planning. Well, it says Planning Advisory Committee report. Yes, Counselor Mitchell. I was looking at the wrong line. I thought it was Counselor Perry chairing. Counselor Mitchell.
The committee held its regular meeting on March 19, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Red Spruce presentation. No motions came forth as a result of this presentation. PLN 24-004 RYC Properties Limited, redesignation and rezoning Shubenacadie. Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider an application from RYC Property Limited to amend the MPS and LUB by changing the land designation of PID 45097227 to establish residential neighborhood, ER, and rezoning the same lands to 2 dwelling unit residential R2 zone. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Counselor Mitchell.
Land use bylaw housekeeping amendments, that was dealt with at the public hearing. Motion C22, bracket 350, paving petitions. Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council maintain the current local improvement charges bylaw. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
The question has been called. And the motion is passed by a vote of 10-1 with Counselor Perry voting nay. Back to you, Counselor Mitchell.
Stormwater management in unserviced areas. Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to proceed with amending the subdivision bylaw to require stormwater management plans for tentative plans of subdivision for all areas of the municipality and all road types, and authorize staff to hold a public information meeting. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just want to clarify you through this, is this just for subdivision? If somebody was to create a lot or two, let's say in our area, and are they just a single lots, just 2, Are they required to do this stormwater management plan and things like that, of that nature?
They would, so it wouldn't affect the neighborhood.
Through you, Madam Warden. We haven't drafted the amendments yet, but the staff intention and what we'll bring to you would be for tentative plans where you need to build a new road. So if you're doing a single lot that's on an existing road, you wouldn't need to do a storm drainage plan.
So if you were to put a road in that, and you didn't subdivide that land, you only took off, like I say, one lot or two lots, would that still be required where it's not, it hasn't been subdivided, it hasn't been a subdivided land?
Well, through you, Madam Warden, I guess that would be up for debate when we bring it to PAC, but right now, it's staff's position that anytime you need to build a new road, you should prepare a storm drainage plan.
I'll be interested in watching that, thank you.
I may have some questions of this at some time, but I'll wait till I see what the proposed amendments look like, and we'll have a go at them then. Does anyone else have any questions or any further discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Rhino.
Will this public information meeting be held here, or where
John?
would it be held?
Through you, Madam Warden, yes, if it's a general amendment like this would be, that would apply to, in this case, most of the municipality, then it would be held here.
But it says authorize staff to proceed with amending to require stormwater management plans for tentative plans of subdivisions in all areas of the municipality, and authorize staff to hold a public information. To me, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but this seems like we're giving you the okay to go ahead and do this. Then it catches at the bottom to hold a public information meeting.
Well, through you, Madam Warden, I mean, until we actually put amendments in front of you and you give it first reading and then second reading, there's no approval yet.
It just seems like this motion is a little bit confusing, right? So, okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? The question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Councilor Mitchell.
Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to prepare a report for committee regarding instituting a lot grading plan for unserviced areas, including both subdivisions and single lots. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Question.
Councilor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. No, I guess again, I'll wait for the report to come up, because I think that could have implications down the road with regard to the unserviced areas in the municipality. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Councilor Mitchell.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. Next, we will go to Infrastructure and Operations Committee report. Councilor Garden Cole.
The committee held its regular meeting on March 19, 2024 in council chambers. No motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. First item, Flood Risk Mitigation 3. The Director of Infrastructure and Operations presented the report titled Flood Risk Mitigation dated January 2024. No motion came forth as a result of this report. Second item, Crosswalk at Riverside Education Center. The Director of Infrastructure and Operations presented the report titled Crosswalk at Riverside Education Center, dated February 12, 2024. No motion came forth as a result of this report. As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Second.
We have a seconder.
Second.
Okay. I'm going to accept the report, and then I'll go to Councilor Tingley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. Councilor Tingley.
through the chair, I circulated an email to.
I'm going to stop. I think that would be more appropriate under business from counselors.
What I'm going to
Yeah.
say, okay, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Because this report and recommendations come from the committee, and what you're proposing to move is not from
Separate.
committee.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, next we have Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee report. Councilor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Committee held its regular meeting March 19, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of this meeting. District Recreation Funds, January intake. Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommend the council approve District Recreation Funds for 24-25 intake number 1 as follows. 9 Mile River Trails, District 1, 5,000. District 2, 12,972. From District 3, 6,890, for a total of $24,862. Would you like to do these individual, or would you do it all as one?
What's your wish, councilors?
All as one? Thank you for your direction. Hants North Baseball Association, from District 6, 11,256, District 5, 277, to make a total of 11,533. Hants North Recreation, from District 5, 2,228, and District 5, 218, for a total of 2,446. Tenny Cape Community Hall, District 6, $22,502, and that is your total. Uniac Mustangs Fastball, funding may be reduced pending the confirmation of provincial funding. Total will be split equally between Districts 8 and District 9. From Districts 8, $18,305, and the same $18,305 from District 9, for a total of $36,610. Quarter Minor Ball, District 1, $7,931. District 2, $7,836. District 10, $10,000, for a total of $25,767. E.H. Horn Preservation Society, District 1, $6,582.50. From District 10, $6,582.50, for a total of $13,165. So, grand total of all is $116,885. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. I'm going to ask the Deputy Warden to assume the chair. As I said, I was laid low by COVID last Tuesday and was unable to be here, or I would have had some discussion on these at that time. My particular discussion are around the two grants for the Hants North Baseball Association and the Hants North Recreation Association. Both of those organizations serve youth mainly, but folks from the entire Hants North rural area. And it has been traditional that we have split the costs amongst us on these type of grants. So I apologize for not having time to get a hold of the other two rural counselors. So I'll throw it out there as an amendment, and we'll see where it goes. So I would like to amend the motion to change the funding for Hants North Baseball, to split it evenly between the three rural districts 6, 5, and 11, which would be an amount of $3,844.34 each. And to split the funding for Hants North Recreation evenly among the three Hants North districts, which would mean $815.34 for each district. And I would move that amendment.
The mover, do we have a seconder?
Second.
Second.
Is that an amendment? I already removed the original motion, so I don't feel I should.
We have a seconder? Second. Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Any discussion on the amendment? Questions been called on the amendment? We'll vote on the amendment. and is passed unanimously. Okay, now, question on the main motion?
Question on the amended motion.
On the amended motion? Go to the vote. And it is passed unanimously. Back to you. Oh, just 1 second here. Just a minute, Eldon. Councillor Hebb.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I would just like to say on behalf of Mountain River Trails and the residents of District 3, thank you to the council of District 1 and District 2 for their kind support for this project. Thank you.
Councillor. Trying, Keith, to get your mic back on.
Thank you.
There you go. Go ahead, Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Deputy. Volunteer recognition nomination list and model volunteer. The Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommend the council approve volunteer award nominees and the model volunteer be accepted as presented in the confidential memo sent to council via email. And for the model volunteer to be designated to represent the municipality of East Hants at the 2025 Provincial Award Ceremony. Chair of the, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. That is passed unanimously. Back to you, Councillor Rhino.
And that brings me to the end of my report. As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Chair's back to you, Warden.
Thank you. So that concludes our committee reports. Next on the agenda is the warden's report. So I would turn the chair back to you, Deputy Warden. So the month of March was a little slower than some months, but on the 2nd of March, I was honored to be a judge at the Rawdon Two-Way 4-H Club public speaking event. It's always enjoyable to see how the young people, their speeches and their demonstrations, and it was certainly very interesting, and I enjoyed it very much. I did venture into the Deputy Warden's area on the 16th of March to attend Ronald White's 90th birthday. It was, a good crowd and very nice, and shortly after that, I got what I thought was a bad cold, turned out to not be a bad cold, so was laid low for a while, and I missed executive and another meeting, but was well again by the 23rd, and I attended a fundraiser for local residents in my area at the fire hall. And that, other than directors' meetings, some of which I attended, or at least one by Zoom when I wasn't well, and others in person, and I'm sure from my notes I've probably forgotten something, but that's all that's in my notes, and I just close by wishing everyone an enjoyable long weekend, and hope you get to celebrate Easter with your friends and families. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for the warden on her report? Hearing none, I will turn the chair back over to you, Warden.
Okay, that brings us to business from councilors. Does anyone remember what side of the room we started on last month? So we'll start with Councillor Tingley tonight then.
Through the chair, first of all, I just want to thank council for voting to allow me to go on vacation last month. We had a family vacation in New Zealand, which is a beautiful place to go, but it was really a good vacation for my wife and my family. I can report from what's going on down there. They have all the same issues we have here: flooding, fires, shortage of houses, infrastructure. One city, Wellington, has 30% of their water is leaking, and they don't have adequate money to fix it. Gas, regular gas was $2.90 to $3.10 a liter. The average price of a house where my father-in-law lives is $1.6 million, and that's average. Although they're facing all the same things we are, and probably times 5, they, seem they're meeting it head on. They've got a bounce in their step and a smile on their face, and they've got a lot to be upset about. And they have carbon tax as well. There's a lot of people upset about the carbon tax there, but that's all I have to say about that. I just wanted to report that it's the same there. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the staff report on flood risk mitigation. I circulated an email around earlier, and I do want to thank staff for the report and everything that's been done to date. But I would like to make a few comments. One, the province states that the primary objective, they have a flood mitigation framework, and their primary objective is to reduce the impacts of flooding in vulnerable Nova Scotia communities. They say this framework is grounded in risk management, not policies, not memos, risk management. And I provided you with the website that where they state that. I'm aware that they've put out an RFP for municipal stormwater needs, which is to inform them how to support the municipality with flood risk management. But they already state they're doing that. Just going to stick to my notes here. Risk management involves identifying, assessing, monitoring, and limiting risks. We don't have a risk management here for flood risk management. A flood risk management plan is a written document containing a record of the identified hazards, assessment, monitoring, and measuring the mitigation attempts results. The federal government, I sent you a link to that, state that they state that the responsibility for managing flood risks is shared between all levels of government. Calgary, they have a flood risk management plan, and they report on their website that since 2013, they've reduced their flood risks by 55%. Colchester Municipality have a flood risk management plan, and they have a flood advisory committee. And I sent you a link to what they're doing. They do work that is reducing flood risks. HRM has a flood risk mitigation plan. The MGA states the goal is to protect public safety and property from flooding. The municipality has broad authority to govern and have a flood risk management plan if they desire. The MGA also states that council can provide whatever services and other things that, in the opinion of council, are necessary and desirable for all or part of the municipality. FCM state that municipalities are at the heart of the action of flood risk mitigation. Without a flood risk mitigation plan, it's not possible to adequately identify, assess, monitor the risks or measure changes in the risks or be in a position to adequately defend that East Hants is doing all that it should and is able to do. Once again, this RFP that the province put out for municipal storm water needs is just to inform the province on how to support municipalities' stormwater management plan. They are not going to complete the unique flood risk management plan for each municipality. That's each municipality's responsibility. So I think the primary question is council of the opinion that flood risk mitigation, that a flood risk management plan is, for East Hants, is necessary or desirable for all or part of the municipality? And I don't think there's anything to fear from deciding to complete a flood risk management plan. So I'm going to make a motion to move tonight that council instruct staff to identify and implement a risk management plan for East Hants.
Do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder? Counselor Eisner? Counselor Eisner has seconded the motion. I'm gonna, just before I go to I'm gonna turn over to the CAO to address some points here, and then I will go to the.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So I have had a chance to sort of look through some of the information that was sent by Councillor Tingley this afternoon. Looking at what the province had put out for their municipal stormwater management project, I believe what they're doing is phase 1 of that project that they have. They've, from what I had gleaned when I saw the RFP out of the market back in late February, I did reach out to a provincial counterpart and gleaned that they are doing these assessments for flood risk. The first stage is to do sort of how do we help as a province, how do we help municipalities do this work, and then they plan on doing having some funding available to get expert advice to do this work available to municipalities. None of that has sort of been packaged up yet by the province and put out to us as municipalities. But the guidance document for municipalities that they deliver will be a direct result of that RFP, and it will help municipalities understand how we improve stormwater management planning. So again, that RFP is for phase 1, but what I see happening is similar to what was done with the cell phone service around the province, when some municipalities went out and started doing it on their own, and then the province came in after and did a lot of the work after the fact. The other piece to this is the report that you received in February was a fairly detailed report on what has been done for by the municipality over the last 15, 20 years. And it also outlined for future studies, our policy says that we can consider large areas of the municipality and seek out flood mitigation options. And then as you get those reports done, then you know who owns the infrastructure, what improvements need to be done to the infrastructure, and we don't necessarily have to do all the work, but we can help facilitate that work if it's private landowners, and we can improve our infrastructure within that study zone, but we can also inform other levels of government when their infrastructure needs to be improved as part of that, and that can include CN as well. So that report that you looked at last month, or this month, included some projected studies over the next few years. The first one being Paley Brook Watershed, which is in this year's budget. So we will be doing the first of those 3 or 4 reports in this year's budget. Next year, we would look to do the Barney's Brook Watershed, which is about a $250,000 report. This year, we have $50,000 for Paley Brook. And then the next one on the list was the groundwater system with portions throughout the Elmwood subdivision, estimated about $100,000. The other 2 that were on the list for sort of that next 5 to 10 years were related to the Shubenacadie floodplain projections, and then expansion of the Alderney subdivision water catchment area, and sort of redoing some of those numbers that we did back in I think it was 2009, we did or 12, we did a study in Alderney, sort of updating those for new climate impact considerations. So that was a report that you received last month. That's the plan. I'm not sure, I mean, you could spend some money to put that into an official plan, but looking at East Hants as a whole, those were sort of the first ones to go with. If the province comes up with money to do some of these, we would come back to you with a recommendation to do it in this order anyway. That would be our flood risk plan, flood mitigation plan. So, you could move forward with creating a committee. I think, you look at Colchester County in particular, you've got 3 municipalities that have come together on that committee to work together. Very different than just having one planning committee here that you can work with. They sort of need to have that committee approach to bring people together. And they also have some really significant flooding from the rivers in that community, which have caused devastating impacts throughout the entire community. So, and granted, we have here as well, but it's a different scale in Colchester with dikes and whatnot along that river. So I guess those are my comments. I think we do have a short-term plan, and as the province builds out that stormwater advice for municipalities, I think we'll be able to take advantage of those and perhaps lead to creating that stormwater management plan long-term. But in the interim, we have that, the first project is funded, and that Barney's Brook project would be put in the 25-26 budget to get that done. And all those do is study the problem. They don't actually fix the problem. So once you study the problem, then you know how many millions of dollars you need to fix the problem. And then you're looking at more provincial funding from those programs. And again, talking to those other partners that are part of the solution, because we can't fix provincial CN or private infrastructure, but we can certainly partner with them to do that. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. CAO took a lot of what I was going to say. We did get a report on this just a month ago, laying out the way forward with the first level of studies, and it is all centralized in one area, because when you start something, you have to do an ink blot and move out. But there are water issues across the entire municipality. So with the province rolling out an RFP to do stormwater planning for all municipalities, there could be criteria in this RFP that comes out similar to the accessibility plan or similar to something else. So I think it's better for us to continue on the path we're going on and wait to find out what the province has at the table. And then when we move forward with our plan, we can leverage what the province has to make things work well. Because as we all know, with some of these programs, if you don't do step 1 with them, you don't get the money in step 2. You have to do them all in lockstep, right? And if you're off to the side in one, you would not be eligible for the pot of money on the other side. So I would make a motion to table this until such time the province's RFP report comes out of what is contained in the stormwater planning for all municipalities.
Seconded.
Okay, motion to table. It's been seconded by the Deputy Warden. A motion to table is non-debatable. So we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed by a vote of 10-1, with Councillor Tingley voting nay. Okay, now back to, I do have folks who wish to speak. The motion has been tabled, so I won't entertain any further debate on the motion because the motion has been tabled. But back to you, Councillor Tingley, for your business from councillors.
I have no other business.
Okay, I had Councillor Musa. Is this to something besides the motion that was tabled?
It's not about the motion itself, like what to do with it, but.
I have some question to the CIO, how we could do to educate people. Like, I've been walking next to the everybody knows on staff the ditch next to the business park. And the other day I took a sign from federal election, left in a ditch. I know it's provincial ditch, but how we do that because most of the flooding occurred like, you won't believe how much water was stopped by that sign, and all the gravel from the road is built up in the ditch and something like that. So I don't know how we approach this level of government to do their job too, because it's not only municipal job, it's provincial and federal. I know if we left our sign, we get charged for it, but I don't know what they do with their signs, but they're spread it everywhere.
So I don't know, does any member of staff have an answer for that? CAO?
Through you, Madam Warden, I think that is probably a local DOT issue or TIR issue, similar to if you had Public Works. So similar to you, if you had a pothole on your road that was causing issues, if you see something in the ditch that needs to be cleaned, then they should know about that through, I don't know if they have a 311 system, Jesse, or I call the Milford number, the 758 number, but I'm sure Mount Uniacke has a depot. That would be a local issue to respond to.
Okay.
And CAO, you had your button on to speak?
I did. I'm just looking for some clarification on the table until when. My intention would be to wait until this phase 1 comes out, and then come back to council with a report on what that phase 1 is going to provide us and whether it will help move Councillor Tingley's motion along, like how the two are related.
My intent would be to give time for that phase 1 to come out, be analyzed by staff, and come back with showing how that would aid in a flood mitigation plan as we are currently in the process of.
Thank you.
Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, I just wanted to respond to Councillor Moosa's question there. And it goes back to I guess what I was asking for, but you can't respond to any of this stuff without a flood risk management plan.
Well, you can certainly call Public Works and ask them to clean signs out of the ditch.
But we get into these discussions all the time.
Already say we weren't gonna have any more discussion on this?
Yes, I certainly did. The motion was tabled, so.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Musa. Business from councillors, sir.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I have a couple motion for staff. The first one is a motion to, how I'm gonna do that, to get the public work to look at the cross culvert between Charles Drive and Mackenzie Lane. That was flooded and the road was washed before, and look at the bridge at East Uniacke too before when they do their paving, because it's set to be paved this year, I think. So I think fixing those two problems before the pavement makes sense now.
So you're moving for staff to correspond with Public Works and ask if they could look at those two items?
Yeah.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Perry. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
I also have a motion for staff to do a review for the beautification fund and ways to be able to spend the money. I know it's money that that's only the money that councillors can spend on their own discretion, and to see if we can add a non-for-profit heritage buildings like churches or something like that, because our our funding is 5,000, and some funding came at 20 and 25,000 to do the roof because the roof is so distinct. You cannot, like, small roof cost probably 10 times more than a regular roof. So I want to see if we can be able to add those stuff to the funding.
Adam? CAO?
The through you, Madam Warden, and John may be better to comment here on the heritage grant that we have as a municipality. I think I'm hearing two things from Councillor Musa. You're asking, putting a motion forward around the beautification to look if there's ways to expand it. And then supplementary to that, I heard you mention the heritage piece and whatnot, and then our heritage grant is 5,000, and the projects are higher than that. So
Yeah.
I know council did just increase their heritage grant, but if there's other vehicles through the beautification, I guess that would be a council discussion.
So for clarification, Counselor, as Adam has said, you're looking for two things. So are you making a motion, number one, to review the guidelines around beautification funds?
That's the only one I'm making. Like, I know the heritage, I already said, because the 5,000 is not enough for especially a church like that is a very, very valuable church in our community, and nobody used it. So either it's gonna deteriorate and probably the municipality will pick the bill to remove it, or because the people that taking care of it, they're all getting older, and some of them pass away, and nobody's taken that job after them.
But that doesn't, reviewing the beautification grant won't help that at all.
Why not can we spend our beautification money?
Beautification money is $3,000 a district a year. It's not
Yeah,
going
so
to
I
go
have
very
it built
far.
to 20,000, nobody asked for it, so.
Okay.
There is no way I can spend it
Yeah.
because I only get
We get-
$200 a week, a year to spend, and we
And-
already
and-
moved it to 3,000.
That's certainly a discussion for council to have. But the criteria for beautification money is the way it is because individual councilors do get to distribute that around nonprofits in their communities. And there could be some concern were we distributing large sums of money around our communities with no council input, I guess. But anyway, so we have the motion on the floor, which is to ask for a review of what beautification funds can be spent on. Do we have a seconder? Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. Motion is passed by a vote of 10 to 1. Deputy Warden voting nay. Anything further, Councillor Musa?
Oh, thank you.
Councillor Perry?
Thank you, Madam Warden. It's been a tough time in the village of Mount Uniacke. Lately, we've lost two, in the last month, two very strong pillars of the community, Donald Hartland and Francis Moore. Francis served many years in the fire department. Donald was instrumental in scouting. He was a school teacher. He, donated his time to Wish Givers, cooking the meals. Anybody that attended a volunteer recognition night or anything in the Mount Uniacke area, it was in his retirement, him and his wife would cater events as such like that. So was kind of a tough time to see some of those longstanding members of the community pass on, and my thoughts and prayers are with their families. Also, during the month, myself, Councillor Musa, along with the Economic Business Development Team and the RCMP, met with local businesses, all contained in the East Hants Business Park, and had a talk about how they felt as a business in East Hants, their impressions of being in the park, their value to it, and quite frankly, I believe all that were in attendance on this side of the table, other than the business people, were shocked. The amount of crime and theft that has happened in these businesses was quite astounding. They don't show up in our RCMP reports because, as one business person says, I pay $68,000 a year in insurance, and if somebody steals $5,000 worth of stuff, it's easier just to cover the $5,000 than it is to have my insurance go up, because it will keep going up and up and up. And that's not right. So the message that the RCMP Staff Sergeant was there, sorry, not Staff Sergeant, yeah. Sergeant McRae was there, and just reiterated that if you are experienced a victim of crime, when you report the RCMP, it does not go to your insurance company unless you submit it to the insurance company. And that was something that these businesses, I believe, some of them found out. There was about, I'd say 20% of the business parks, businesses were there. There was some communication issues with, there are certain people renting and operating business spaces, but the invite went to the owner of the building. So some of those things, business development, were ironed out afterwards, and I'm sure everybody's going to be contacted. But there was not the only person who owned a lot in the business park that wasn't a victim of crime at least twice in the past calendar year was the one person that has a lot with nothing on it that he just bought. So that to me is saying a lot about the type of crime that's going on. We mention here in council chambers all the time how hard it is for people and how difficult it is. Well, it's just as difficult for these businesses. When costs and everything go up, they can only ask their clients to pay so much before their clients start coming to them for certain things. So there's definitely, I do believe this is not something that's just unique to Mount Uniacke. I believe this is happening for most of the businesses in East Hants, that they are not reporting as much crime as they can because they are scared of their insurance rates. We had a report here that our insurance rates were going up 10, 15%, some of the fire halls 30%. So, you know, that insurance piece and that messaging from the RCMP, which they said they're going to work on as they go around, is going to be key to let them get the numbers, because just the crime numbers that the RCMP had and what's actually going on were so far out of whack it wasn't even close. But from that, I am going to make a motion, and it will mention the Mount Uniacke Business Park, but the second part of it, I believe, should be for both business parks as well. And I'm going to move that council direct staff to prepare a summary report of the meeting held at the Mount Uniacke Business Park on March 7th, 2024, that outlines the concern raised by businesses regarding crime, incidences, and the level of municipal service delivery in our business parks. I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Rhino.
What, I guess through you to Councillor Perry, the intent of the report is to?
The intent of the report is to bring back to council and inform council on what's actually happening to the businesses in our business park. Economic and Business Development will follow up with the businesses that were there and touch base with the ones that were unable to attend, to be able to provide a clearer picture to council of what our businesses are experiencing in our business parks.
Well, could we somehow include our business park here in Elmsdale to get some kind of report with that? I think that, you know, we should have a report as well. These are economic drivers in both areas of the municipality. And to me, I think they should both include it in some kind of report of what's going on with them. So I don't know if that's possible or impossible, but somebody will surely fill me in.
So I did not have a meeting with the businesses in Elmsdale, right? We had a meeting with the businesses in Mount Uniacke. So there was an initial meeting to follow up on. That's the intent of my motion. The second part of it, the levels of municipal service delivery in business parks, that applies to both. Just for council's information, there was over 16 lights that were out in the business park for, what was it, 8 months or more? And, you know, I believe that's not acceptable. I don't believe if there was 16 street lights out in the Elmsdale Business Park, it would go on notice, because this is concurrently located. Where that is not concurrently located, And that went on for so long. Now, I will give credit to staff. As soon as they found out, they got on it and they remedied it. But certain levels of service like that does make those business owners feel less valued in that area.
Anything further, Counselor Rhino?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Deputy Warden, would you take the chair?
I will.
So, I don't object to having a report. Sorry, I'm moving the mouse on them. I don't object to having a report, but when you speak to municipal level of service, well, the example given of the streetlights, well, our staff can't ask Nova Scotia Power to fix them if they don't know they're out. So it's incumbent on someone to report that. They're our streetlights. But, so we have to know that they're out. That still stands. But I just am a little concerned with that phraseology, and I just want to confirm that level of service to businesses in any business park, and maybe I'm the only one that looks at it this way, but I don't see a municipal role for hiring security or anything. Anyone who owns a business anywhere is responsible for the security of that business. And if we were going to be hiring security for businesses in a business park, then I would be expecting other businesses throughout the municipality to be saying, where's our security guards for our businesses? So that just concerns me. But if that is not the intent of the phrase service level to the business parks, I'm fine. So some clarification, I guess.
So the service level is the ditches are overgrown, they're full of garbage. They're our municipal ditches. We own them.
Okay.
It's not the business park's responsibility. The sides of the road where you walk down, there are growth 3 to 4 feet high of weeds. So you can't walk on the side of the road. And some of the business owners said they've come up here to meet with some other businesses, and this business park does not look like the one in Mount Uniacke in that regard. So I understand there's sidewalks here, right? There's no sidewalks in Mount Uniacke. Right? Try to explain that you know, there is a difference in the way the parks are designed. But I do believe we own the lights, we own the roads, we own the ditches. We should be monitoring their condition and monitoring what's going on there, not reliant on them to call us because we own it. It's no different than if the street lights were out here or the lights were out in a building, right? We are responsible to fix those lights and take care of it. They shouldn't have to be calling. That's the level of service. If you own and run a business park, you kind of got to take care of that. That's what I talk about the municipal service delivery part side, making sure that those type of things are gathered up, and signage, right? They're still waiting for signage in some areas, like a sign like they go into, that's coming in here where they can buy placards, right? The business park's been open for a number of years, and for them to advertise their businesses is still very difficult. So that's another thing that they're looking at for that service delivery piece. And the other thing is, it's just the crime report that they talk about, the crime incidences. It's because in the police reports that have come in, they don't show the true picture. So I believe council needs to know the true picture of what's going on. And that way there, we can then pass it on to the RCMP.
Now, that was the only clarification I wanted. I didn't want to be hiring security for business parks.
That's not what this report
Nope.
is meant to do.
No, that's fine.
That's all, Warden?
That's it.
Well, Councillor Tingley.
Just a quick question. So Councillor Perry, through the chair, Councillor Perry, is it, you're wanting to understand what the threat of theft is all about in the business park, like what's happening there?
We had a meeting with the business owners, and the business owners painted a picture that was completely different than the staff reports we've been getting from the police about crime in the areas in the business parks, because they feared reporting.
Okay.
And so
Good.
this is just to give us a better picture.
Okay.
At all, Councillor?
Yep.
Seeing no one else, staff number 6. Adam.
Yep, thank you, through you, Deputy Warden, just to build off of Councillor's motion, Councillor Perry's motion here. we did go out and the business community of Mount Uniacke had requested, and specifically in the Parkin meeting, and we hosted the meeting as a municipality, and our local councillors, as Councillor Perry mentioned, were there along with the RCMP. And really I think the intent of what I'm hearing of the staff report really is to provide council with a summary of what we heard, so council can do that, and we'll bring that through the staff level. You know, we did hear things about park security, and that would be a component of the staff report. We did hear things about various services, so we would have I&O comment on that in the report back to council around whether it's the streetlights or maintenance. You do have some items in your budget as well that we would bring forward to refresh around our business park. So really, it would just be an update on what we heard from the business community. And then some of that would be EBD related, and we would have other departments comment as needed. So council as a whole can hear that conversation that was had, that the two local councillors had. And then also we are mindful of our other business park here in Elmsdale too. So if council were to want to take additional steps with whatever that may be, we would be including our Elmsdale Business Park in future conversations as well. So really it would be a summary report on what we heard, so all of council could hear that. Thank you.
Adam.
Question.
Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Turn the chair back over to you, Warden.
Anything else, Councillor Perry?
Just trying to make sure. Had a meeting with the Pockwalk Watershed Management Committee. They were interested in the Mount Uniacke further planning strategy coming. They had some questions on that, which is on the work plan to be coming forward, and they'd be looking to be ensure they're engaged in that as well because of the watershed that could be affected in any of that secondary planning. Just trying to think of anything else that popped up. No, there's lots of chatter about the upcoming public information meeting on April 2nd. Some of the information that's out there, I don't think is quite accurate that's going on in the social media realm, but I look forward, and for anybody who's watching, show up and get the picture from the staff, and they'll give you the real information and not the rumor mill. Thank you.
Deputy Warden Green.
Thank you, Warden. As was stated, I presented a certificate to Ronald White on his 90th birthday. It was well attended and is. I also attended the fundraiser in your district that day, and other than that, it's been very quiet, but I'd like to recognize the fine 4 people from District 6 who's here with us this evening in the gallery. So that's all I have to report.
Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yeah, just a few items. I spoke with some of the residents in Shubenacadie at the school bus stop in front of the Home Hardware, and like to continue speaking to them. Hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have a motion to put forward. Hopefully we can get some response from it's not the school board anymore,
CCRCE.
CCRCE, yes, thank you, Warden. And of course, I spoke to, at that time also, quite a few residents were concerned about the budget. So anyway, that's passed, and I've made my position clear on that, I believe. Of course, attended the budget meetings and also attended the first meeting of the Municipal Housing Strategy Work Group, which comprised of 3 councillors and some volunteers in the community, and of course staff. So hopefully we can make some progress on that. I missed the Haydays meeting because of that meeting, but I know one thing, I'm sure that we're still looking for volunteers, so anybody out there that's listening, knows anybody, ask them to come forward and help us. Had some calls and people approached me about the rezoning of the Havenwood development, and their main concerns, of course, McGinnis Trail, which I don't think able to allay those concerns. And also the big issue is the drainage concerns, because there's people on Havenwood now that have drainage issues, and people downstream from Havenwood which have some serious drainage concerns. So I know that we're only at the start of this, and engineers as get developed will come up with solutions to those drainage concerns, I hope. And also contacted the MLA's office on behalf of residents of North Salem regarding the condition of North Salem Road, and I must say it was atrocious. I've seen it bad before, but that was atrocious. I don't know if anything's happened since last week, but the weather certainly isn't conducive to getting much done, but hopefully the Public Works Department can do something to help them out, because the way the weather's going, this is going to last for quite a while. Anyway, that's everything for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Thank you, Madam Warden. Just a couple of things. I also attended Ron White's 90th birthday, and great to see him in great cheer, and even his wife was there, and
Virtually.
but she wasn't there. And just to report, Nama River got a new utility truck there, rescue truck, and they're very proud of that. I've yet to see it. I haven't got a chance to go down there. And just to let everybody know, the Lions annual breakfast is on Saturday morning. If anybody's interested out for a good breakfast, why, come on down. That'll be it. Thank you, Warden. Milford, yes. I didn't say it, did I?
Counselor Eisner.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just working with the H. Horn School, it's kind of interesting, always fun. Actually found a negative that I had probably 20 years, and there's just a bunch of negatives, and it's actually the first year it was built. I got my son to developed it. So anyway, so it's kind of good for our group. The tender's been called for the bridge in the Horn Settlement Road, which is good, because it's been out for a long time. People are complaining about that, of course. So, well, maybe that'll be done. I don't know how long it would take to have it rebuilt, but just been calling the Department of Transportation, working that for Monte Vista and Renfrew Road. Pretty bad shape, so I don't know what their intentions to do. Maybe this summer, hoping maybe they'll repave the whole thing, but don't know. It's a big ask. But anyways, that's all for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. A few items for the month of March. The Sportsplex Board met on the 18th as they prepared for the meeting with council on the following Wednesday, the 20th. Question through the staff of the stop signs at the intersection of Elmwood and Hemlock. Has the third sign been put back yet, or is it still missing? We've lost two already.
Through Madam Warden, there were signs there a week and a half ago when I was there, but I cannot commit to there being signs there currently today. Just for reference, these signs have been going missing frequently. They're coming down like the day after they're going back up. And so it's a constant struggle right now at that particular intersection. Yeah.
Okay. Had an email from a resident about the potholes on the number 2. Himself and 3 or 4 others have lost tires and rims to the pothole. Basically, the one he was referring to was the one in front of Elmsville Lumber. And I hope to talk with the MLA tomorrow to see if I can expedite its repair. The Library Funding Review Committee, Lynn Summers from Provincial, sent me an email, and it deals with bridge funding. $500,000 for 2022, 2023, $800,000 for 2024, 2025, which will be divided up over the regional libraries across the province. It's to help address operational pressures from inflation, and the Funding Review Committee's mandate is to review funding model for 2025, 2026, and the next 5 years going forward. And just a reminder, I'll be out of the country from Friday, March 29th to Friday, April 12th. So I'll leave District 2 in your good hands, and that's all.
Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. March has been a moderately busy month. I've had numerous meetings with the Municipal Housing Strategy, Corridor Community Options, E.H. Horn School Preservation Society, all board meetings. Of course, we've been hammering down the 2024 budget, so lots of meetings with that. I'd just like to, and as well, I've had numerous people contact me about potholes on the number 2, which I have contacted TIR, and I dropped into one as well. So it's not good, and the road is so busy you can't. It's very hard to avoid them. Just wanted to give a shout out. First of all, I think I forwarded an email to other councillors regarding Enfield and Bloom, the founders of that, Anita Stringham and Ian McKenzie, almost 20 years ago, founded Enfield and Bloom. Their vision and tireless efforts to create beautification in Enfield and later in Elmsdale and finally in Lance have truly benefited residents up through the corridor and those that pass through as well. And can't thank them enough for almost 20 years of service. And they are announcing that they are stepping down. And there is another group of volunteers who are, who have worked with them. But I think that their last message that they wanted to send out was that they are really hoping that they feel like things are in place and, the infrastructure is there for the municipality to consider taking over this kind of beautification in the communities across East Hants. So it's something, maybe for us to ponder. They compared different communities and towns that do take this on themselves, and they're hoping that that's the direction that East Hants will go in. So I'll leave it at that. And that's it for District 1. Thank you.
Councillor Rhino.
March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I attended the Provincial Basketball Championship at Hants North Rural High, and I'm pleased to announce that the home team, Hants North Flames, completed the provincial title, and this makes 2 in a row for them. So congratulations. And last night they received their Super 6 on behalf of the East Hants Sport Heritage Society. So that team has done very well. They're well coached. They're super people, super young athletes on and off the court. So I'd like to say that. On March the 6th, I presented Marilyn and Everett Clark, of West Indian Road, a certificate of 55th years of wedding anniversary. 55 is a number of years, but they're still a young couple and still very active in their community, and congratulations on that. I heard Councillor Perry mention streetlights and having to wait for 6 or 7 months to get them fixed. Well, I got one I'm waiting for over 2 years for, so beat that. But I did see some progress. I did see it's at the intersection of 236 and the 215 road leading to the Goss Bridge. I do see the light itself is put up. Now I'm hoping it doesn't take another 2 years for Nova Scotia Power to connect it. So those are the things. I also heard Councillor Musa talk about election signs, and election signs are, whenever there's an election, there is information given out by the government saying where they can be and where they can't be, and it's up to the Public Works Department that looks after that area to make sure that those election signs are adhered to. So the only problem is some areas adhere to where they're supposed to be put, some areas don't. I can assure you, come to my part of Colchester County and every sign's in the right place or in my yard. So that's just how it happens. But anyway, the last thing is kind of a sad note. I'd like to announce that former fire chief of the Maitland Fire Department, Albert Hanna, passed away this past Sunday. Albert was a definite asset to our area. As fire chief, he was instrumental in securing the jaws of life for our area some years back. He added a lot. He was an exceptional stonemason, and much of his work can be seen through East Hants, numerous places, also with Colchester and West Hants. So he'll be missed, And it's kind of a sad day when we have community members and former fire chiefs who was given so much to the community pass away. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. That concludes business from counselors. We do have on the agenda an in-camera item for contractual matters from the CAO. So I would be looking for a motion to move in camera.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Deputy Warden, seconded by Counselor Perry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried, so we'll give